Hey, what's going on, guys? Your brother Antonio here again. I'm here to give you guys the third part of my three-part series of the introduction to the Crossroads podcast. So the first thing I want to talk about is how I came about making this dream of mine a reality, which is called the Crossroads podcast. This goes back to over 2.5 years ago when I had a serious condition called epilepsy. But at the time, I did not know that's what it was. May 6, 2021, I went to bed after coming home from a long day of work, only to fall asleep and wake up to seeing paramedics in my room. I was confused. I was in a daze. I didn't know what was going on. And I looked over to my son and to my wife, and they were crying. My wife said, "You had a seizure." And it still wasn't registering to me what was going on. I ended up going to the hospital, staying overnight, and trying to figure out what happened, Like, I can't believe I had a seizure. I had to stay home, and I was thinking, hey, bro, I'm going to be home for a week or two. Everything's fine, and I'm going to go back to work. Because I've never missed work in my life. I've always been that hard-working guy, always there, never late, stand-up guy at work. Eventually, I realized that this situation wasn't like a cold. It was a life-altering situation. A month later, in June, I had a second seizure. And this is where the doctors realized, okay, this is not a one-off. There's something going on, and we need to figure out exactly what is happening in your brain. At that point in time, I realized quickly that I wasn't going to get over this thing, that it was a lot more serious than I ever thought it would be. Fast forward to a year later, May 2022, I was about 8 months in to not having a seizure, preparing myself to go back to work again. I got my license back because every time you have a seizure, you lose your license for 6 months. And once you're good for 6 months and you're on your medication and nothing else has happened, you're able to reapply to get back your license. So in the midst of this is what I was doing. Got my license back, was talking to my work, trying to get back inside and work. A month later, I had another seizure and was right back to ground one. I was trying to figure out, what is going on here? What is happening, And it was tough to process, but at the same time, I know there was a reason for all of this. There was a reason why I was going through this. And I never doubted God. I trusted Him because I knew He was the one who was in control of my life. So by the time I had the third one, I knew I wasn't able to go back to work again, and that I'd be off for even a longer period of time because I need to do more tests and more appointments and see my neurologist again to figure out exactly what is the right track to try to control this thing, because epilepsy, there's no cure for it. You just have to manage it the best you could. So as I continued on, I eventually had another seizure September of 2022. And at that point in time, I'm just like, am I ever going to stop having this? Now, there's a lot more complications that I deal with on a daily basis, which I'll get to later in the video. But at that time, I didn't know what was going to happen if I would ever work again. But through all of this trials and tribulations dealing with my epilepsy, I realized that I had this gift that I never really took in as I once did, because I was so busy, caught up in working and providing for my family and dealing with what I had to deal with, I didn't realize that God placed in something inside of me which would be a blessing to all those around me. And because I had to sit down and change my whole life now, from working to be an at-home dad, a full-time husband who's with his wife 24 hours a day, allowing her to work, I realized this is my opportunity to study the Word of God more, to read the Word of God more, to watch podcasts that can help me understand how to speak to people, how to evangelize, how to reach the lost, how to talk to the people who believe so they can grow. And as I said in my last video, I was like a call center. Till this day, I still am. There's so many skills that I've learned. I can't work, but God has given me an opportunity to learn how to be a social worker, a biblical counselor, right? How to manage people's lives. People come to me with their problems, and I do my best to help them. And I quickly start to realize I got something here. I'm able to impact people by the words that I speak. It holds weight. And the reason why it holds weight, because they see my life. They see my trial that I'm going through. They see the patience. They see the strength. They see the will. They see the faith. And they see how I'm serving now. And a lot of people wouldn't know what to do being at home for almost 3 years. So as I continued learning and progressing, I finally came to the point of, I got to go to work. And this was now in September of 2023. I've been almost more than a year actually free of seizures, which is a blessing. This is the first time I've ever went this far without having a seizure. And in September, I was let off of my long-term disability, and I had to get back to work. So this whole 3 to 4 months in September, I've been trying to do everything possible to get back to work, because I feel I can work. I know I can work. My mind's telling me I can work because that's all I know. But with the medical information given to my neurologist, me seeing a specialized person who deals with epilepsy, what I came to find out was I have 1 to 3 focal awareness seizures on a daily basis. What is that? That is basically I have many seizures, but I'm aware of it. I don't black out. Thank God, because I'd be blacking out 2-3 times a day. And as I found this out, I realized, man, that's why I felt so weird for 30-40 seconds, in different parts of the day. And as I was going back and forth between my work and my neurologist, I had some hope in November where there was 3 possible jobs for me to do. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to do these things because now it's time. I'm ready. It's been 2.5 years. It's time to go to work. I want to provide for my family. As a man, I want to be able to sweat, to go out into the world and to bring back home bread, if you know what I mean. I know how hard it is on my wife working at home. I know what she's going through, and I want to help her. But God was telling me, be patient, I have something coming. So when I found out about my job that I possibly could fit into, they needed some clarifications from my neurologist. And when I got the clarification, I sent it back. The day I made the video, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to work, so I'm just going to make videos and put it out there as something on the side because I know this is what God has called me to do. But as soon as I dropped the video the Wednesday, on the Thursday, I got a call from my work letting me know they couldn't meet my accommodations. And man, I went from a high to a low. And I had to talk to somebody, and I called one of my pastors and I called my church and I asked for prayer because I'm like, I just dropped a video that took me almost 18 months to actually have the courage and to be brave enough to come on a camera and put myself out there. And the next day I find out, no, you're not going to be working. And I asked God, is this what I'm called to do now? Because according to my work, I have to wait until May when I have my next appointment with my neurologist to see if my restrictions will be let up. But guess what? The part of my brain that is injured is right here. And this affects my vocabulary. It affects my speech. It affects how I process things. And I'm not able to work in an environment. I can't talk to people face to face. I can't be on a phone. And I need a person beside me in order to work according to my limitations. And the crazy thing is, all I do is talk to people and talk on the phone. So I started asking, what's going on here? And I called as many people as I could to ask for prayer because I need clarity, because I'm wondering if this is what I'm supposed to do now. is make videos and impact people because I'm in the safety of my house where my wife and my kid are. So if anything does happen, at least they can take care of me. I am a risk to people. I'm a risk to my job. And if they can't find a job that meets my circle, which is like this now, there's nothing really they can do. So this is where it really came to the realization of, bro, I gotta go all in. I gotta pour my heart out. Thank God I did the podcast before I found out that situation, because I was just doing this podcast eventually, which is coming out in January, as just a side thing that I wanted to evangelize to people on a broader scale. But literally, I thought about that the Monday of the week, and then Thursday, I actually found out that I can't work. I gotta wait till May. That'll be 3 years I'll be at home. I never thought in my life I would be home for 3 years. I've never done that. I've always worked. And this is what God was preparing me for, was to make this podcast. Those 18 plus months that I went through, all the people that I talked to, all the ministries that I did, all the places that I went, all the things that I had to deal with, whether it was with my son, with my wife, with my parents, with my close friends, with people that I grew up with strangers, with people at church. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on. He was preparing me for this. And I thank God that He allowed me to go through those times, to learn how to be patient, how to trust in Him, how to still love Him, how to still serve Him, even though I could have felt useless. Being at home, it's hard, waking up and having no purpose. But I knew what my purpose was to continue what I've always done, whether I was at work or outside or at my friend's house or just being on the street corner, was to preach the word of God, because it has enveloped and been around me so much. It's like I breathe and I live it. And I decided I have to do it. So this is my story of me dealing with epilepsy, which I don't even really remember that I have it, to be honest. Like, if you ever talk to me, you could ask anybody. I never bring it up, because at the end of the day, I'm still living, and I have a purpose that I must fulfill, and that is to impact the world. So this is where the Crossroads podcast came from. It was birthed out of what some people would call a tragedy, what some people would call a circumstance that they didn't know how they would handle it. And that was my crossroads, from working for the world for now actually really working for God. And the crossroads that I just had to go through was thinking, man, I'm going to do this as a side job because this is what I wanted to do it for a long time, to now questioning and asking God, is this something that I should be doing full time? Because I truly love it. I truly see myself as a person who could be making videos, who could be making content to impact lives. I've talked to 300 people in over 2 weeks. And the feedback that I've got is crazy, guys. It's crazy. So that is reason why I have chose to finally, after so long, to drop this podcast called The Crossroads. The next thing I want to talk about is actually, what does Crossroads mean? When I first thought about it, I said, this would be a great thing to do. I can talk a lot. You got to pay me not to talk, actually. And I just thought, I'm just going to go on the cam and just talk. But as I am here today sitting and looking at the camera, which I'm getting way better at, which I'm really, really happy about, is it's actually a ministry more than anything else. Because my life is a ministry. My marriage is a ministry. My fathering my kids is a ministry, right? The way I deal with people is a ministry. So it's only right that I treat this podcast as a ministry. So when I went around talking to all these people over the last 2 weeks, my first question to them is, when I say crossroads, what does it mean? And I got a lot of different feedback. I got a lot of different answers. And it's exactly what I wanted to hear. Which means I knew that anybody, whether you believe or not believe, you'd be able to understand where I'm coming from and where I'm going. So crossroads is literally one road intersecting with another road, right? And when you come to an intersection, what do you have to do? We know roads lead to destinations. What destination are you trying to go to? Right? GPS is so big now. Where back in the day we would just try to find our way using our roadmap. Now we're so glued to our phone and this GPS that sometimes it leads us the wrong way because we're not even sure where we're going. So that's the first thing that I thought about when I thought about this name was roads leads us to a destination. And just because you're on a road, it doesn't mean you know where you're going. Because you could be walking down the road and having no idea where you're going. Right? It might lead you straight down, but straight down to what? We must have a purpose when we're on the road, not just aimlessly driving. We must know where we're going, not have a guess, because we could end up getting lost. Now, a crossroads is exactly something that everybody in their life has to meet. There's not one person that will be hearing this will say, I've never been to a crossroad, whether it's a train track or an intersection. As human beings, we all understand what it means to cross a road. And in this podcast, I will be exploring 3 aspects of crossing roads on a daily basis. The first one is mentally. You might say, mentally, I'm crossing a road. How? Well, crossing a road means making a decision. Why do I say that? When I've asked people, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say crossroad? Or I had to break it down for others, crossing a road. They said, analyze, danger, direction. I have to think about what's going to happen. I got to make a decision. And I said, why do you have to do all of these things? They said, well, if I'm crossing a road, I don't want to hit somebody. I don't want to die. And I want to make the right decision. And they all hit the nail on the head. That's exactly why I made this name that can reach everybody for those simple facts. We all have to make a mental decision and a mental choice when we're at a crossroad, right? Secondly, we think about physical crossroads. We actually have to walk on the street. We actually have to walk across a road, across an intersection. Once again, danger's involved. Analyzing is involved. Decision making is involved. Should I jaywalk? If I'm jaywalking, I gotta make sure that there's no cars coming, right? So we physically actually have to take that choice we made in our mind and actually flesh it out. Managing the risk and benefit to that decision we just made mentally and physically walk that out. And the third, which is the most important aspect of crossing the road, whether it's making a decision to actually physically cross a road or actually make a decision in your mind to make a decision on something. It's spiritually. Spiritually, we have to cross a road. Right from wrong, good and evil, moral or immoral, right? We all think about these things every day. Is it right to do this or is it wrong to do this? And ultimately, the ultimate crossroads spiritually is life and death, right? How does that spiritually impact us? Understanding that we do have a soul and that everyone that is born to die. Because last time I checked, 10 out of 10 people die. And I know this is a crazy thing that people don't like to talk about because we all are afraid of dying. This is why we all want to try to have our little piece of heaven now. Because some of us either know where we're going, don't know where we're going, are ignorant about it, or just too afraid to even think about it, much less talk to a person about it. So this is the meaning of the name I chose for my podcast called The Crossroads, because every day we got to mentally, physically, and spiritually make decisions. This is where life and Christ meet every day. And I want to show you guys how we can work through those everyday decisions that we might just gloss over because we have at least 30,000 thoughts a day on an average. Yes, I said 30. The last thing I want to talk to you guys today about is how I want to interact with my audience. The relationship I want to create between myself and you guys, my viewers, my audience, my listeners, my followers, and fellow friends who want to help push this ministry further ahead to see where God's going to bring it. The first thing is, I don't want this podcast to be something that people just listen to. That is not why I'm making this. But at the same time, I know that there are going to be people who are just going to listen to it. And I understand that. And I appreciate them for that. And those I ask of that just want to listen to it, just to hear what I have to say, that they just give me a chance and follow along. Hear what I have to say. See what I'm about. See where this podcast is going. Because I can guarantee you will learn. You will learn from it. That's what you have to figure out, is what do you want to learn from this? Because I know that what I've done here, I've proved it in real life, that it will impact people. It's just upon them if they want to accept what I have to say in order to improve their life in whatever area they are lacking in. Second is, I really want to have an active listening audience, active viewers, where they can understand that I'm a part of this, that I can help Antonio, that I can give him suggestions, I could give him guests, I could give him topics. This is what I really want, is to get people to be active. I want you guys to ask questions. Why did he say that? What does he mean by that? Why does he think the way he thinks? Why does he talk the way he talks? Something's different about him. And if I could get you to that point, I know you're going to be able to accept the truth that I have to say, because you are now starting to search your heart, your mind, your soul on the real questions that you might not even know you had. And lastly, but not least, the most important goal between me and my audience is I want engaged listeners, viewers, audience. I want to create a community. I want to create personal discipleship. I want to be on phone calls. I want to talk to you, whether it's through a DM on my platform or in the comment section, if you are willing enough to express yourself through there, or in a small group that I'm going to create, or in a WhatsApp group. Because to be honest, a lot of people make Christian content for the world, but I live in Toronto, and all these videos that I've put out, all the people that I've talked to personally know me, and they all grow up or live in or outside Toronto. I know there's not a lot of content like this in Toronto. And I want to be able to take advantage of that and bring everybody from both sides of the coin, whether you believe or whether you do believe, in order to get you to be fully engaged and be fully involved in what I'm doing. I can't do this on my own. I need you guys. As I said, I was doing this as a side job. Now I have until May, and I'm trying to get ODSB. I'm trying to find out different ways that I can apply to get some funding to help my wife out financially. In the meantime, I'm not going to stop this. And even if I do get a job, I'm going to continue doing this because I've already given birth to this, and I've already seen the amount of change and impact I've already done in people's lives. But I can't do this without you guys. So I need your support. What kind of support is that? Resources, funding for the ministry in order to get better quality videos, different things like maybe homeless ministries, jail ministries, interviews. You guys could book me for conversations or whatever the case may be. There's so many opportunities that I see with this avenue of putting myself out there on the internet, that there's so many things that I can do because I have a gift in speaking. So I could apply myself anywhere. And it's upon you guys to give me these ideas, to give me these options like, hey, try this. How about that? I know this person. I know that person. I know this guy's doing that. I know this woman's doing that. I know this church wants this. And this is where I'm going to see, hey, I see myself doing that. I could put myself over there, right? But this is the thing that is closest to my heart. I'm going to be making a biblical podcast that everyone can listen to, from people in the world to people in the church, showing that Christians should be able to be moved in order to reach the unreachable, not just talk to the people who are in church, right? We have to learn how to conduct ourselves, the way we talk, the way we walk, our faith out in real life, to show that there is a difference. And we want to show you why we are different to the ones who don't believe. Now, for the ones who are outside the church, I want to reach you guys too. I want to speak to you guys about life and everything that surrounds life, everything that goes into life that we live on a daily basis, right? And how it goes hand in hand with what the Bible teaches. I also want to create a podcast that people can feel, can touch, can taste, can smell, can think about. Because I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking at you, I'm walking alongside of you. Wherever you are, I will meet you, as I've said in my previous videos. I love to help. I love to help people understand why they're going through what they're going through in life and how to handle the ups and downs of life. Because if we're honest with ourselves, there's many ups and downs that we go through in life, because life doesn't stop when we ask it to. It just continues on. And some of us don't like to deal with the reality of life. But the sad thing is, we have to regardless, because life will keep going. Time doesn't stop for anybody. And this is why I want to help you guys navigate life. Also, the aim is to bring the ones who feel that God is too far away from them, or they're too messed up for God even to forgive them, that's not true, right? God cares about you. You're still living. I want to show the ones who believe, hey, you can still grow. You can still mature. You know, reading the word of God and just going to church is not it. How do you apply the word to your life? How do you learn how to lead, to serve, to bless, to impact others for the kingdom of God? And I know a lot of people in the church who said, man, it's hard to evangelize. It's hard to speak to people about the gospel. But Tony, you know, you're doing it so easily. And maybe now I could be encouraged to share the little that I know and send on these people that I talk to your YouTube channel, because you're able to do it in such a realistic way where it's not seeming like it's being forced, but you're having great conversations. You're opening up great points about life and everything that surrounds it, so that these people could feel comfortable and understand, man, this guy's just a regular guy like me, but there's something intriguing about him. There's something more to him. And I could see it in his eyes. I could see it in his talk. I could see it in his thought process. And hopefully I get you guys to be so engaged that we're able to create a huge community in Toronto and be able to move throughout this city and show people the love of God. Show people how Christ is. Show people what it means to be different, to live in the light of life, which is Jesus Christ. So I thank you. This is the last video of the 3-part series of the introduction to the Crossroads podcast. I'm tired of talking about myself, so I don't know how a lot of people who do podcasts talk about themselves. There's only so much you can say. And I'm ready to move on to do the biblical stuff. And I know there's a lot of people, especially my wife and my kids, I show them these videos, they're like, yeah, it's good. I was looking for like, oh, it's amazing, but they're like, Dad, I live with you every day. I hear you. I hear this all the time. It's like deja vu. So I know a lot of people are waiting for the biblical content. I know that, and I can't wait to get to that. And it will be dropping in January. But this is the final video, and I left the best for last to explain to you guys the meaning behind Crossroads, why I got to this point to actually do it at the ending of 2023, and how I want to interact with my audience. I want this to be a different type of podcast. So if you've made it this far, I thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. I love you. If you like this video, share it, subscribe to my channel, and you can support me in many ways. Everything will be in the description, and you can call me. Most of you guys know my number. Most of you guys have my IG or my Facebook. Do not be afraid. But in 2024, it's all God, no breaks. And I'm not going to stop, even if I get this job, whenever that is. If that's in May, it's in May. If it's tomorrow, it's tomorrow. But I know this is my full-time job now. And I'm here for you guys. So wherever you are, I'm going to meet you. Because I know Christ meets me every day in my life and helps me get through each and every day successfully. Have a good day. Love you guys.
Hey, yo, it's Opto.